This is helicopter activity. And I'm currently up. That's crossing path by FSA family. It's crossing path by another demon on foot. That's helicopter activity while I'm uploading onto Google Drive. Surveillance in the parking lot. This whole community is engaged in surveillance, and so is Tracy Banks in the parking lot, okay, with the Ontario Police Department. She is going to federal prison. She's group stalking with the rest of the demons whose name you don't need to know, okay? 7FMD 286, federal prison. Tracy Banks is sitting in relevant position like the rest of the population, group stalking while the entity flies over by helicopter. She's, by the way, been engaged in surveillance with the Ontario Police Department for years. Avanath Communities is engaged in surveillance with the Ontario Police Department as well. It's the method of amplified audible activity while I'm uploading evidence onto the venue of the internet. That's P.O.C. That's called light activity. And here's the, again, what Mike LORENZ is going to be prosecuted for. This is where the entity is keeping a fake sun during the day and the moon at night. This is called crossing a path. This is going on the podcast as well. This is state surveillance. This is what the Ontario International Airport we're engaging in. It's amplified audible activity in the specific environment. And you're looking at, again, a third party. That's a mentally ill, demon-possessed person whose name I know, Tracy Banks. She's creating light activity, walking around the vehicle and engineer light. And she's doing the same thing with the rest of the population. And doing so, again, maliciously while the police department flies over the apartment complex, amplifying audible activity in the same way that the Ontario International Airport are. This is what Alan D. Wappner and Mike LORENZ, these are demons in corrupt positions of leadership. While this system of state surveillance is underway. That's federal stalking. While I am currently uploading evidence online right now, and this what again, the demon in apartment 55 is the only one that's above. She's engaged in he or she's engaged in ongoing demonic pacing. While you can see the engineered light that stretches beyond the door, that's impossible light activity. You're looking at the light. You're looking at the group stalking in helicopter. Amplification, P.O.C. Mike LORENZ is fully aware of, in the same way that Alan D. Wappner is aware of the surveillance by the Ontario International Airport. And I just want to be clear, the light source is subdued, it's right here, and it has nothing to do with the impossible light activity inside of the apartment. Avanath Communities is a method of audible activity. A demon uses a vacuum. All manner of noise in the engineered light is the P.O.C. All right, this, what you saw this morning, the engineered light that created my shadow on this wall is impossible light activity. You're looking at engineered light that's now appearing on the down here. That's illuminated light. It's a method of crossing a path by helicopter. That's criminal conduct that Mike LORENZ is going to be removed from the position that he currently holds. He's a domestic terrorist. This is impossible light activity. And the demons that are the Ontario Police Department, the likes of Jay Burnett, the likes of Jason Knighton and L. Keys, who are going to federal prison, engaging in what is kidnapping, harassment, terrorism, while the entity is stalking in helicopter. That entire police department's engaged in state surveillance and federal stalking. They're stalking in the specific environment. This is a method of impossible light activity having nothing to do with sunlight. Okay, this is light that's being, has nothing to do with the placement of the light source, which is also documented over this venue. This is a maintenance of engineered light while the population, including Tracy Banks, is engaged in federal stalking with the rest of the demons whose name you don't have to know. You don't need to know. They're in the environment, maintaining the elements of monitoring together. I am right now at what is 9:31 a.m. uploading video and images and screenshots onto the Google Drive, which is my operation of the internet, which all the entity is engaged in Title 18 criminal activity surveilling, and the pattern of conduct is to maintain the elements of monitoring. This is impossible light. The sun that would be above us is something that would have light coming at a downward trajectory, and inside you're talking about an angle where it is shooting horizontally, and then also behind, above the door and behind the wall, above onto the ceiling. You can see the engineered light right here that has nothing to do with sunlight. This is the demonic. The demons are stalking in the sky space. That's the Ontario Police Department. And just like the Ontario International Airport, the evidence of that criminal system is being uploaded while the demons of the OPD are crossing path in helicopter. Mike LORENZ is fully engaged in that, in the same way that Alan D. Wappner is fully engaged in that, where planes and helicopters are the method of amplified audible activity, terrorism, and sexual violence, keeping a woman under surveillance inside of what, and during every other personal private moment. It's public information amongst males and females engaged in state surveillance of a demonic nature. The maintenance of engineered light is present while the entity is crossing path. This is illuminated light down here. This is the P.O.C. right here. This has nothing to do with some doing is showing you the specific environment, nothing to do with what you're seeing, an opening where engineered light is illuminated inside of the apartment. Okay, that's not the nature of light that's going to occur. This is a shaded venue. The entity is engaged in ongoing amplified audible activity. Avanath Communities is group stalking by using their demon that's working for the property is group stalking, creating audible activity under the guise of using the vacuum. Okay, so you're looking at what is shaded. Okay, there's not going to be any sort of concentrated light. That's the concentrated light out here. Has nothing to do with your understanding what is engineered light. You're looking at the demonic. The elements of monitoring remain underway. You're looking at illuminated light that's occurring on the ground down here at the curb. You're looking at, excuse me, at the bottom of the doorway. You're looking at illuminated light that's appearing inside of the hallway. Stalking in the airspace includes by the helicopters and airplanes, which is also where the entity is keeping the fake sun, which is over the property. It is directly here. It is subdued. It is the same fake sun that's remaining everywhere that I go, including in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I'm documenting the light source that's not going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments at the same time. All right, that's the P.O.C., and that is looking at, again, Tracy Banks, fully engaged in criminal defamation as a matter of evidence, fully engaged in what is kidnapping with this entity on more than one occasion, and in 2024 is still engaged in the pattern of conduct under the guise of living at a facilitating venue, group stalking her own daughter, which is exactly what you're engaging in the specific environment, having no shelter, not engaging in any constitutionally protected activity, while group stalking with the state, who you just saw engaged in the pattern of conduct in the specific environment, is where the state is engaged in surveillance in concert with the people of the state. This demon in apartment 55 is going to federal prison. This entire property, including Avanath Communities, is going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted. It is the basis of federal prison. Where you see the fake sun, this is exactly where you see the fake moon at night, where Ontario police, who are just flying over this apartment building, are at night under the fake moon flying over this apartment building, which again creates what is sensational activity, which is impossible activity creation, while Tracy Banks, a demon whose name I know, is pacing around like the demon that she is. She's a psychopath. That's the public safety concern. Those that are targeting American citizens, whether they're blood related to you or not, whether your friends married to them, working with them. This is the threat that the workforce, as I was subject to it by speaker companies in Los Angeles, again, demons whose name you know, fully engaged in the pattern of conduct, engaged in the P.O.C. in a manner, in an environment that is irreconcilable, for example, where LAPD was stalking day and night where the sun was rising and setting. That light source over Alvarado Gardens, over my head, is not going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario. None of it's creating any of this light activity. This is the direct evidence of state surveillance, and that's what I just captured. While the entity does so, because they're engaged in surveillance online, with simultaneity immediately as I begin uploading evidence online, the demon up here begins pacing around, which is amplified audible activity, and the demons that are the OPD, which Mike Lorenz is a demon-possessed government actor. He's fully engaged in state surveillance and federal stalking. That's why the pattern of conduct is underway by that entirely corrupt department. Years, by the way, of documentation of criminal activity by a terrorist organization. The Ontario Police Department is to be disbanded upon federal prosecution, and the entity will produce the information regarding the name of the particular demon who's going to federal prison, who was just documented group stalking a helicopter. All right. And it's the same for every criminal act that has been documented by the Ontario Police Department. In addition, that's exactly what Alan D. Wappner is engaged in and is fully cognizant about, as I'm documenting the same exact elements of monitoring by the demons hovering over a senior citizen complex and commercial airline planes, in sync with my activity on the internet, publishing it online. It is, again, 9:36 a.m. This is amplified audible activity by a corrupt police department. P.O.C. flying directly over. That's P.O.C. And here's the fake sun right here. Saw the Los Angeles Police Department engaging in as I documented it from February of 2024 up until July 2024, and it is currently 9:36 a.m. I'm documenting the Universal Waste Systems crossing path in the parking lot of the Alvarado Gardens apartments, and the entity is engaged in that P.O.C. This is speaking to the specific environment. Remember, at 9:36, and it's still right here at 5 in the evening, creating what is impossible light activity inside of the bedroom right here, inside of the apartment. All manner of what is this light source has nothing to do with the impossible light that's upward along the ceiling and behind the front door, has nothing to do with what is distinct method of identifying the pattern of conduct by demons stalking in helicopters, the fake sun, and the entire population is group stalking with it. That's why the fake sun is over the apartment complex, acting in sync as a demon in 55. Pacing around on the traffic is the people of the state, and that's criminal conduct, walking under the fake sun, where a population is engaged in that same exact condition. It is currently, again, Were you looking at the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California? The light source is the ongoing indicator regarding state surveillance while they're engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet. And this is the impulsivity, which is speaking to the criminal system that you're subject to by a population, not only the demons who are showing engaging in evidence against the people of the state. That's the unintelligent, demon-possessed, and corrupt agency, the terrorist organization masquerading as a police enforcement agency. I want to be clear. There is no sun that's over the Holiday Inn in Hesperia at 9750 Key Point, like I'm documenting through the hallway window of that hotel facing the 7-Eleven in Hesperia, California. As a matter of evidence, from 7:51 until 3:05 p.m., it remained visible over that hotel window as I looked out of it, and that impossible light activity that's on the floor, moving down the wall and across the floor up to the opposite wall, where the demons who are calling themselves housekeepers, the demons that are calling themselves Cal Fire Department, the demons who are pacing in and out, maintaining presence at that hotel, were engaged in state surveillance. And you have what is mutually exclusive. The light source that's over Woodside Senior Apartments is not going to be seen at any hour of the day through that hotel window, nor through my window, nor over the hotel itself, which I captured during the 9 a.m. hour. That's speaking to the malice that Tracy Banks is engaged in. That's speaking to the ongoing pattern of conduct, the elements of monitoring, and this light activity has nothing to do with that fake sun that's outside above the building, creating no light activity that's going to appear above the window behind the front door. That is speaking to the conformity of a P.O.C. that's demonic, while a demon above you is engaging in stalking you all day long with the entity that does so, the hallmark, stalking in helicopters. And again, the mental illness of demons that are bearing weapons, stalking in helicopters, masquerading as police departments, doing so, group stalking you. And that's a heavily documented kidnapper. Michael LORENZ is going to be prosecuted, going to be removed from the position that he holds. These are domestic terrorists in the state of California. That's what all of these demons that are calling themselves chiefs of police, while a pattern of conduct, very specific, stalking in helicopters is a very specific and specialized method of group stalking in California in that specific environment. And it is shown as the intent to do so and to psychologically torture while that specific environment is demonstrated and the population acts in conformity to that P.O.C. while engaged in federal stalking, knowledgeable about the evidence that's being published against it. That's the conduct that Alan D. Wapner, the demon that's over the Ontario International Airport, centering operations around where I am, what I'm doing as I'm doing it, while engaging in the pattern of conduct in the same way that you see the entity group stalking by plane and helicopter flying directly over my apartment, is relevant positioning in the same way that the demons flying in relevant position over the senior citizen complex, equally amplifying the audible activity and the equally impossible light activity. That's the P.O.C. as you see it at nightfall and during the day, and the entity provides that wealth of evidence for the world to witness. This will be the removal of demons who are strategically placed in positions of leadership where a pattern of conduct by the entity is underway, meaning they are not ignorant, they are fully engaged in it. And that is, again, the demon that is a president over the over the operations that the Ontario International Airport is engaged in, state surveillance and federal stalking. And that is the same with Mike LORENZ. This is a domestic terrorist engaged in that pattern of conduct in the specific environment with specific knowledge about what's being documented as it's documented. There's no ignorance regarding a pattern that the entire department is mirroring, is repeating while I'm going from city to city, state to state, even county to county. This is speaking to a very specific pattern of conduct. Again, it's 9:41 a.m. I'm documenting the fake sun over the Costa Mesa Best Western in Orange County during at approximately 9:46 a.m. There's no sun that's going to be over the Best Western in Costa Mesa, California, while you're looking at it over me right here, while the entity is keeping this fake sun as I've documented at 10:30, at 11, at 12, at 1 o'clock, and it's still here in a perfect alignment, and while impossible light activity fills the apartment after 5 p.m., where you're seeing that same demon-possessed agency flying over my apartment right now, group stalking under that same maintenance of a fake sun, providing the crime scene where a population is engaged in surveillance. And this is a sex offense committed by a population. And these are elderly people, speaking to no exception regarding demon possession, no exception regarding criminal conduct, contrary to what it is you have been conditioned to think regarding the crime rate, regarding those that are more inclined or predisposed to engage in criminal conduct. These are demons that are secretly targeting people, conspiring with the government to engage in murdering and kidnapping people. And they do it in America, in California, while wanting to appear as though engaging in life as usual. And there's nothing usual about it. There's nothing normal about it. In fact, as you look at the evidence, the body of evidence and the conformity with that pattern of conduct, you're seeing what is a highly malicious and very highly deranged pattern. It is unmistakable. And that is speaking to, again, what justice requires and necessitates: a very intense federal prosecution of a public entity. This is the maintenance of engineered light. It's present both at 7 in the morning. It's present at 6 in the evening. It has nothing to do with the fake sun, which you saw over me while the entity flew directly over me in helicopter, while the Ontario International Airport is doing the exact same thing, amplifying plane activity, flying over a senior citizen complex. Alan D. Wapner is engaged in the pattern of conduct, the state engaged in state surveillance and federal stalking, for which he should be removed from that position that he holds. He's fully engaged in it, and this is a demon. I want to make sure that you know that personal business that he doesn't want you to know about. And it's the same with Mike Lorenz. This is a corrupt government actor. This is a domestic terrorist over a terrorist organization, group stalking, which is what the Ontario International Airport. What you need to understand about these airlines: they are engaged in terrorism while simultaneously profiting, while keeping American citizens under surveillance, group stalking them, and doing so, threatening you with the demons who are bearing weapons using helicopters because they're mad because Alan D. Wapner is going to be removed from the position that he holds. He's going to be exposed as a demon-possessed psychopath, a closeted sex offender, and a terrorist engaging in stalking and group stalking with the demons who are using airlines flying over this senior citizen complex, in concert with the demons who are group stalking living at the apartment complex, which is what the demon in number 55 represents: the ongoing amplified audible activity in the engineer light. This demon's engaged in 24-hour surveillance, and he or she's going to federal prison. Okay, unmistakable. There's no sun that's going to be over Alvarado Gardens while it's seen on video with the entity Hallmark stalking in planes and helicopters in the specific environment. It is P.O.C. It is currently 9:44 a.m. and you saw again the unfathomable, speaking to what the rest of the population is engaged in. Those who you know and don't know engaged in the pattern of conduct. And Tracy Banks is a mentally deranged psychopath, group stalking her own blood relative, targeting her own. You've also seen her group stalking with impossible light activity. That is engineer light as though it's shooting off of her car while she's driving by me. She's a group stalking demon whose name I know, which makes it, again, providence in order to prosecute the rest of the state. There is no discrimination. There's no distinction. There is no difference with regard to the elements and the specific environment that controls, revealing what is a malicious pattern of conduct that the government is engaging in. And because she's group stalking with the Ontario Police Department, Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, just like every other demon that I've documented engaged in the P.O.C. Mike Lorenz and Alan D. Wapner are the demons in corrupt leadership, acting with the state that is engaged in the elements of monitoring. This is a demonic pattern of conduct intended and engaged in to maintain criminal surveillance, doing so in the aerial surveillance, and also surveillance on the internet in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. This is video captured. It's currently 9:45 a.m. and the entity is maintaining this fake sun over this apartment complex until after 6 p.m. as a matter of documentation. That is not the natural environment, nor is this light activity indicative of the natural environment. It is, however, in conformity to the pattern of conduct that, again, the third party whose name I know, Tracy Banks, is on video engaged in the elements of monitoring. This is someone that is telling you to your face that they love you, acting maliciously on behalf of the state in a position where they can be involved in your life while they are actively engaged in the ongoing conspiracy to murder and kidnap you, which Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police Department are documented engaging in criminal defamation and multiple acts of kidnapping. This is also why you have many that are going to federal prison, employed, whether or not they're still employed with the Ontario Police Department, they're going to federal prison. And you're talking about what is the grounds of disbanding. A terrorist organization such as the Ontario Police Department using and abusing and devoting their operations of the police department to engage in surveillance, that is speaking to the absence of any need by the city for that terrorist organization. It's not needed, and you can start over again with another non-corrupt agency. And Ontario Police Department has demonstrated their disqualification, their outright disregard for abiding by what are the constitutional norms, the expectation with regard to their knowledge that they've been documented, and they have shown an outright disregard to in any way cease to engage in surveillance and criminal conduct and terrorism on its face. While they foolishly, knowing video was rolling, they flew right over my head. You saw that on video. You're talking about many that are going to federal prison, and this is the basis for disbanding terrorist organizations such as LAPD, another one, the Fontana Police Department, and the Ontario Police Department. All right, it is currently, again, 9:47 a.m. This is P.O.C.